Greetings. Lars Olson here. This is Quiet Echo for Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. When you've paid long enough. I'm at the store early today. Like to get here before the phone starts ringing. Gives me time to think. Been reading about what's happening in Florida. Their legislature convenes Monday 60-day session. 7 different property tax proposals on the table. One of them would eliminate non-school property taxes for homeowners entirely. That got my attention. But here's the one that really stopped me. Illinois, not exactly a low-tax state, has a bill working its way through the legislature. SB 1862. The idea is simple. If you've owned and lived in your home for 30 continuous years, you stop paying property taxes on it. 30 years. That's a mortgage paid off. Kids raised. Grandkids visiting. Roots grown so deep they're part of the soil. And at the end of it, under this proposal, you finally own your home, free and clear. No more checks to the county. No more wondering if you can afford to stay. State Senator Neil Anderson, who introduced the bill, put it this way. You have to be able to say, yes, I own this property, and they can't take it away from me. I've been turning that over in my mind all week. Here's what bothers me about the way we talk about property taxes. We act like they're just part of owning a home. Another line item, part of being a responsible citizen. But that's not what they are. They're rent, paid to the government, forever. Doesn't matter how long you've lived there. Doesn't matter that you paid off the mortgage. Doesn't matter that you've already contributed for 30, 40, 50 years. Miss a few payments and see what happens. See who really owns your house. We don't like to say it that plainly, but it's true. Down in Florida, they're asking the big questions. Governor DeSantis wants to eliminate property taxes on homesteaded properties, primary residences where people actually live. He's set aside $300 million in his proposed budget to help smaller counties absorb the change. 4 of the 7 House proposals have already cleared committee. The most aggressive one-House joint resolution 201 would wipe out all non-school property taxes starting January 2027. The critics are worried. Florida League of Cities says it could gut funding for police, fire, EMS. They're asking, where does the money come from? It's a fair question. I don't dismiss it. But here's what I notice. The people asking that question never seem to ask the other one. Where does the money come from for the homeowner? Where does it come from for the widow on a fixed income whose taxes went up because her neighborhood improved? Where does it come from for the 70-year-old who paid off his house 20 years ago and is still writing checks every single year? Nobody asks that question. The Tax Foundation says property values have risen nearly 27% faster than inflation since 2020. In some places, Ohio, Florida, Texas, homeowners saw their bills jump 40, 50, even 60% after the pandemic. Not because they earned more, not because they asked for anything, just because someone decided their house was worth more on paper. And now they owe more. Indefinitely. I run a hardware store. Have for decades. I understand that local services cost money. Roads, schools, fire departments. None of it's free. I'm not pretending otherwise. But I also understand this. A system that can take your home from you because you can't afford the taxes, even after you've paid off the mortgage, even after 30 or 40 years of faithful payments. That system has lost its way. What I like about the Illinois approach is the principle behind it. It doesn't pretend there are no trade-offs. It doesn't eliminate property taxes for everyone. It doesn't promise something for nothing. It simply says, if you've been here 30 years, if you've proven your commitment to this place, if you've contributed for a generation, you've paid enough. There's wisdom in that. It rewards stability. It honors commitment. It says to young families, if you plant yourself here and stay, there's a finish line. That's not radical. That's how we used to think about things. Florida's debate will unfold over the next 60 days. Whatever passes will need 60% approval from voters in November. The outcome matters not just for Florida, but for the rest of us. Because if they figure this out, other states will follow. Ohio already has a grassroots amendment effort collecting signatures. Texas wants to let voters eliminate school property taxes entirely. The conversation is happening everywhere. Here in Cedar Valley, we're a long way from Tallahassee, but we know what it means to work hard, pay your bills, Hope that someday the house you live in will actually be yours. Maybe it's time we stopped pretending that's an unreasonable expectation. I've got customers coming in soon. Wednesday's usually busy, people finishing up projects they started over the weekend. But I'll be thinking about this all day. 30 years. That's a life. That's a commitment. And at the end of it, a man ought to be able to say, "This is mine. Nobody can take it from me." Seems like that shouldn't be too much to ask. Quiet Echo is part of the Cedar Valley News series. The people in town are fictional, but the events we reflect on are real. If you want to know how Cedar Valley came together in the first place, pick up Quiet Echo. When loud voices divide, quiet ones bring together. It's the story of how a small town found its way from division to fellowship, one quiet act of courage at a time. Available on Amazon. Links in the show notes.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open.